Hi, my name is Chris Ramsay and welcome to the SLIPSHIFT.
So what if an octopus could palm a deck of cards? Well, this is one of my all-time favorite books on sleight of hand card magic. Mostly deals with palming, pretty much only deals with palming. These are ideas from Dan and Dave Buck and friends of his. The illustrations are actually made by Ricky Smith, which are amazing. I usually don't keep dust covers. I keep them elsewhere because I like to see the book without the dust cover on my shelf. However, this one is one of the few that I've kept on. Here's what it looks like without it. Also pretty dope. Love the font. Like, I mean, come on. When this came out in 2011. It also came out with a deck of cards. I have that deck somewhere. I gotta find it. The ideas that were in here were not for the faint of heart. Were not for the uninitiated. They were extremely difficult moves that required an enormous amount of practice to master. And then once mastered, virtually would serve you almost no purpose in a lot of the cases. They were just fun to do. Now, some of them, mind you, are extremely useful and could be used at any point. However, there's a lot in there that's just for the move monkey within me. If you can get your hands on this book, it's really hard to find, but a really, really good read. The reason I wanted to bring that up is because today I'm going to be teaching you one of the hardest things that I have ever created, and in my opinion, one of the hardest color changes that exist, because maybe a dozen people on the planet can do this successfully. It is known as the SLIPSHIFT. Now, originally this was released with Dan and Dave on their website, I would say 6 years ago. Then can be found on Vanishing Ink, where you can still find it, and if you still buy it there, you can still get a whole bunch of extra work that I have on it. I'm just going to teach you the basic color change of it today, because during this pandemic, we all want to sit back and learn a new skill or a new hobby, and maybe even take your sleight of hand from here, well, to somewhere else. Here's what it looks like from the back. It's almost like, this almost feels like reverse treading. And if you're not familiar with treading, that is in If an Octopus Could Palm. The idea, now I'm very bad at it. The idea here is that you are palming one card while this one rotates, and you're bowing that card so that this one can come back under, and you're then squaring it back up, and you're doing the whole thing over again. And it's very difficult. However, when I do this, I perform with multiple cards, so maybe 3 or 4. 4 is gonna be a lot easier for you. Here, by the way, is what it would look like if you did it backwards. Kind of useless. Almost impossible to square up. Let's get into teaching the SLIPSHIFT. All right, so the SLIPSHIFT. For this, you're gonna take, we're gonna start with 4 cards. You're gonna place them face up in your hand. Now you're gonna have to bear with me. When I came up with this move, thought about the mechanics before I had developed the muscle strength to actually perform it, which is very new for me. Normally I would think of I would just mess around with cards and do something so regularly that it would become a habit, and through that I would find a reasoning for it. This time I kind of reverse engineer it. This is what is going to happen, I just can't do it yet. And I had to practice and practice and practice for hours and hours just to be able to do the thing that I came up with. Super weird, but this is how it went. You're gonna take your thumb and put it on the opposite side of the index. So the indexes are here, you're gonna put your thumb over here, and you're gonna put your middle finger here. This is a lot like the clip shift, however, we're doing it a little bit more openly at the fingertips. So again, you're here. Once you're here, here's where all the difficulty comes in, okay? You are going to take your ring finger and place it here, right here. Do as I do. Your pinky is going to pinch. Now, this is the hardest part, is pinching one single card between your pinky and ring finger. And you're going to pull that card back as far as you can without moving your thumb, just as far as you can, almost so that the card is cleared here. Do you see that? How it's almost cleared? Right here? And then right when you're outstretched with your pinky as much as you can, you're just going to help it by bowing that card over it a little bit. And now that card's going to be on the inside. You're going to push that other packet so that it straightens out, and then you're going to use these fingers and your index and the rest of your fingers to align that card. Okay, doing it slow is very difficult, all right? So it kind of looks like that in half motion, all right? In full motion, it would look like that. The idea for the angle is to have that card ready. You know, so I'm here and I'm already halfway done, but you don't know that. So with the angle here, and then I can come in and shake it and do the color change. So again, we're gonna take this slow. I know that this is difficult, trust me. I came up with it, I know how difficult it is. I did not have the strength to do this when I came up with it. I had to develop that. So that strength there, this is kind of just like a fun move to even practice, much like I said, much like treading, where you're just. Now, the one mistake I see a lot of people make when they perform this, and I'll get to a different angle here. The one problem I see a lot of people make is that when they're here and they've extracted that card using the pinky. Now, I'm gonna show you first of all exactly where to grab it with the pinky. You wanna get as deep as possible. So your pinky here is essentially touching your ring finger knuckle, not up here, right here. Because getting the card in so deep is going to allow you to pull it back more. And because you're pulling it back more, there's less of this motion. Because the last thing you want to do is like curl that pack of cards around. And I see a lot of people doing that, is doing this. And that's the opposite of what I want it to look like. I want this to come back as far as possible so that it's a barely any move here, barely anything, before I can get it in. Because if you see your angle from here, because if I do this, that's very blatant as opposed to that. You understand? And there's a big, big difference there. So you don't want to be curling this around because that's going to flash all sorts. Now it's a fun exercise to do, mind you. However, the idea is pulling that back so far with extending your pinky and your ring finger so far that you barely have to go around. Once you get that muscle memory down, you barely have to move the card back at all. It'll just kind of happen naturally, you know. So that's the idea. And then, you know, once you've done it a million times, you'll be able to do it back to back, maybe 3-4 times in a row. Again, the angles are not great for this. The best angle, if I perform it here for you, if you were in person, it would be like here. Right? So the card almost feels like it's hidden for a split second through the shake, and then it transforms. Note the height of the card that I'm pinching it. All right? Keep that in mind. Pulling back. Pulling back, pulling back. I'm almost there. Almost, just barely there. I'm gonna scoop in that card, push here to straighten that out. Now again, I don't know why it's so hard to do slowly. The rest of your fingers are gonna have to work together to square up that card. It's not gonna be an easy task, but teamwork makes the dream work. So all these other fingers are going to lend themselves. This is kind of like if an octopus is trying to do a color change here. If a chameleon could do a color change, there's another idea. So boom. Once you're past, all right, now you're kind of getting lined up. Your pinky and ring are moving the card back in, but it's not quite there. So your index is going to have to like do this motion and kind of help square it up. You'll see that when you place it back with this, your index is like kind of like petting it upwards so that it moves in that motion so that I can square up properly. Again, this is a very difficult move. This is not easy. It's not something you're going to learn instantly. Well, it's something you're going to learn instantly. It's just not something you're going to be able to do right away. However, I think there is a lot of value in developing muscle here in these random extremities. So if you want to use this as an exercise, I know Daniel Madison in his video recently, he was talking about exposure and how a lot of the beauty behind the scenes is better seen than unseen. And I kind of agree with that. A lot of it, you know, if I'm placing something here and I'm placing it back and I'm coming to a color change, you know, seeing that, watching the mechanics happen there's something magical about that, right? It's not, sometimes when things are hidden, you know, it hides all the work that we put into it, but seeing this as a secret move, you know, that's kind of cool. So this is kind of like treading. It's a move that you can just sit there and practice. But eventually, once you get really proficient at, it actually can look like a really sick color change. And kind of unexplainable because the way your hands are positioned are so hands off. Does that make sense? All right, I'm not gonna run through it again. I think if you guys want to see it again, you can just rewind this video and watch it again. But the important part, obviously the hardest part is gonna be squaring it up. That's gonna be the most difficult part. But if you can get past just even gripping and putting that card back, squaring it up is going to come naturally eventually through practice. But in the meantime, just even if you have to curl the card around, do that. You know what? Just get those mechanics. But eventually, you really want to build up the muscle so where you don't have to curl that card at all. And the only thing, so yeah, that card didn't curl at all, and then I'm able to do the color change, right? So I'm able to grab it here. I'm already halfway set up. From this angle, you can't see, but I'm halfway set up. The card is already around. Now it's just a matter of lining it up. And it can look really, really sick if done really well. So there you go. That is the slip shift outro. Well guys, there you have it. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like if you found it somewhat informative. Subscribe if you're new here and you want to learn some more magic, or you want to watch some more puzzles, or you just want to watch things because you're bored. Next week, my team's coming back into the office. We've been on 2 weeks of quarantine. We're kind of removed from society. Nobody's really gone out, so we feel comfortable enough for the three of us to get here and to get some work done together, so that we may provide more content for you out there. Again, thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, and I'm gonna try to drop a video every day this week again. 5 videos this week. See you tomorrow. Peace.
Raise your cross, made some do crack a smile.